It is a blessed Tuesday morning, the 25th of June 2024, and the time is exactly 10 o'clock. Greetings, land of the brave and beyond, and a very warm welcome to today's Public Enterprises Information Sharing Session. As always, we are coming to you live and direct from the Government Information Center studios in the heart of the nation's capital, Windhoek. Thank you so much for tuning in. Now for this morning's edition, I will be your host, Hileni Felipe Samuela, and alongside my studio guests, we'll be keeping you company between now and 11 o'clock. On the menu this morning, we are discussing the insight into the Namibia Tourism Board's perspectives and reflection. And I am joined in the studio by the CEO, the Chief Executive Officer of the Namibia Tourism Board, and that is Mr. Bonventure Mbidzo. Mr. Mbidzo, once again, it's an absolute pleasure to have you on board this morning. Welcome to the Government Information Center.
Thank you so much, Helene, and thank you for the viewers back at home.
Thank you. Now, without wasting any more time, we are going to quick start the conversation. Mr. Mbidzo, kindly give us a brief overview of who the Namibia Tourism Board is and what necessitated the establishment thereof.
Thank you, Helene, and thank you for the viewers back at home. To give you a bit of historical background where Namibia Tourism Board comes from, Namibia Tourism Board is a creation of the Act of Parliament 21 of 2000. But before then, we need to understand where we are coming from. We know Namibia was a de facto province of South Africa. Therefore, immediately after independence, we needed then to come out and show what this sovereign state has to offer out of South Africa. Therefore, the Namibia Tourism Board was created.
Right.
And during that creation, there were so many things which Namibia can offer, which South Africa cannot offer. Hence, there was that need by our lawmakers that it was necessary for us to have a tourism board. And that was the birth of Namibia Tourism Board.
Right. Okay, now, how has the Namibia's tourism industry evolved over the past decade, and what are some of the key factors driving its growth?
The evolution of Namibia Tourism Board for the past 10 years will be an incomplete story. We need to start from where we were when we were created up to date.
Right.
When we were created, the government was very much aware that the nation was known by most travelers as a province of South Africa. Therefore, immediately, Namibia then decided to go out there under the United Nations Tourism Organization and offered and opened up the tourism sector to the world. And you recall under the UNWTO, the World Trade Organization then, there are some instruments where you open up what you have to offer as a country.
Right.
And under GATS, Namibia opened up the tourism sector that whoever wants to come to Namibia as an investor, you can come to Namibia. But by doing so, the government was solely focusing on what are the benefits if we open up the tourism sector to everyone across the globe. One was that we were going to have more investors. And number two, people were going to be interested into this new territory, what they will be able to acquire, whether they will be able to invest and repatriate their profits. Once that was created, it all went well. However, it created some problems as well, because when the government opened up, it meant that whoever wants to even open a campsite can come and open a campsite without a threshold of a certain amount of money which need to be invested in the country. Secondly, if you look at the guest house and bed and breakfast, these are the very entry points which could have been reserved for Namibians, because you don't need a foreigner to come and open up a campsite or a guest house in Namibia. But the intentions of government then were so noble, but there were consequences which, of course, were overlooked. So that is one aspect. The other aspect is that you realize that because of the opening of the tourism sector, we have had so many investors who have invested in this country because they know that surely their profits and anything else related to their investment, they will be able to repatriate such investments. Right. Now, what has evolved then during those years we have been in existence? Number one is the fact that we were able to, firstly, to make sure that our people, the Namibians, are able to participate in the sector. Right. Number two, we were able to entice investments in the country. How have we been able to do that? Because that can only relate into answering the question of the evolution. Our foreign missions across the globe, I don't know how many there are though. Right. These foreign missions, they have got a particular task. One of them is to promote the destination as a user or investment-friendly country. Number two is for leisure, for visitation. So these foreign missions, while they are out there, whether you are in Russia or China or the United Kingdom, they would portray and market Namibia as a destination for leisure. So now that's where you start seeing people coming to a particular country. It's not because a bed and breakfast or a lodge in Rundu have been able to advertise themselves very well. Okay. We advertise a nation while the product owners, they would do that. So the evolution over the past few years has been drastic. Okay. One example would be, if you remember, we have Hwama restaurant. Yes, in Wanaheda. In Wanaheda. Hwama is one of our brainchild. What we did, we were having a tourism exchange program where we would take our own Namibians, we take them to South Africa where they would go and learn what they can do in the townships. And Hwama was one of the very first people whom we took over to South Africa, and they saw how they were doing in South Africa, and that's where we ended up having Hwama. Okay. We have got Hafeni in Swakopmund, we have got Hafeni tours. So there are so many out there, Meme Ituna in Ongwediva. So we have got so many. But the evolution, what has happened over these years is that the tourism sector have moved in leaps and bounds. Traditionally, we would go to lodges and hotels. If you go to Zambezi, you are going to get houseboats. So that is one concept of innovating other ways of how then do you entice people coming to Namibia. The houseboats, you can only find them within the Imparila Island in the Zambezi region. Right. You don't find it anywhere else. And in the desert, some of our accommodation sectors or establishments in the deserts, you don't find them anywhere else, apart from maybe some of them, they are similar to what you would see in Mongolia. But our business people in Namibia, surely they've tried to innovate in so many ways. All right. Now, Mr. Mbito, of course, given the response you've just given to that question, one would help but wonder, what initiatives is the Namibia Tourism Board undertaking to promote the sustainable tourism practices in the country? Sustainable tourism, Helene, is one of the things which we need to understand where is it coming from. Our Namibian constitution is very clear under Article 95, that we need to make sure that we are environmentally and we are able to be sustainable. So to be cautious of our environment. But what is it that Namibia Tourism Board has done? Under our Act, it stipulates very well that we need to promote environmentally friendly products. And one of them is for us, when we market our destination, is to show what Namibia has to offer. Some of these products which we offer is like our hotels in the deserts. Namibia Tourism Board does not own any property, but we promote what the private sector is offering. So our private sector is very much aware of the arid conditions we find ourselves as a country. If you were to check in the Sossusvlei area, where we are in the middle of Norway, in the desert,
Right.
so how sustainable have we been in making sure that Sossusvlei becomes one of our classic areas where when you tell someone to visit Namibia, you would not want to say, look, forget about Sossusvlei. You will say Sossusvlei, Swakopmund, and Etosha.
Yes.
Those are the big areas where you would want someone to go. But those are not the only areas where we have got areas where we can pride ourselves as a nation. You would check some of the establishments for NWR, for instance, the ice hot springs in the south,
Right.
and all the accommodation establishments alongside the Fish River Canyon. All those, they are built in a very friendly environment where we make sure that whenever they leave, there is no damage to the environment. And it is obviously the neighbor here, the ministry, who will make sure that whenever a concession is given or been awarded, they make sure that there is no damage to the environment. Hence, the Environmental Act comes into play, that it is a government initiative and all the players within the tourism sector obviously must comply with what the laws of the country says.
Right. Now, of course, you've had so many success stories from what you've just mentioned. Talk to us about some of the challenges that the Namibia Tourism Board has, experienced over the years.
The challenges are so many, Helene. As a public enterprise, when you look out there, the government fiscus, the government coffers have remained almost the same. But whoever is looking there, we have grown in number. So therefore, it means the amount of money which comes through to Namibia tourism has shrunk because there are other priority areas where the government would want to make sure that there is a dent into the lives of the Namibians.
Right.
And then when you look at what is it that Namibia has faced, not only Namibia Tourism Board, but Namibia as a country,
Yes.
you realize that our communities where we are residing, we are the owners of the environment. We have taken care of all the animals which entices people to come to this destination.
Right.
But if you look deeper, some of the communities, they don't derive so much benefit of what they have been taking care of over so many years.
Correct.
So what I'm saying is, most of our communities, they are not active players in the tourism game. So how then do we make sure that these communities, where these resources are brought onto the game? Because one day, if we keep them at the peripheral, these animals, all the beauty we see there, will disappear.
Correct.
You would want to think that, when we were growing up, you would take your dogs, you go hunting.
Hunting, yes.
And either you chase a hare or a springbok. It was not an issue of being poaching.
Yeah.
But now, we have now seen and we recognize the value of us having these animals around us, the beauty of it. So now you start now educating people that if we keep these things, they become our heritage. From the community where I come from, we literally, when we go fetch our cattle from grazing, we have to literally divide them from the zebras. We have got the buffaloes because we are just alongside the Botswana border. So what I'm saying is that we need to understand and make sure that some of the challenges where we have got human-wildlife conflict, is a big challenge.
It is.
Within the tourism itself and as a country. But how then do we make sure that our people, they don't see these animals as problem animals, but they see them as part of what we are as Namibians? So the human-wildlife conflict, I think the compensation as well need to be relooked at, because if you have got a 10-hectare field and it gets destroyed by animals, how then do you come with tourism and you try to glorify that, please let us make sure that we take care of our animals? And these people are really hurt. Say, look, I invested in seeds, in cultivation, and in weeding, and all is gone in one night's time.
Right.
So how then do we try to make sure that the communities fully understands the value of tourism and embrace and help us to make sure that we conserve? So what we do with the private sector is to make sure that when a concession has been awarded, the concessionaire, the person who has been given that particular concession, goes to this particular community with an initiative which is going to help the communities in their upliftment.
Right.
In some cases, in the Zambezi where I'm from, you realize that when there is a conservancy and there is someone who's managing that conservancy, there is always a commitment. What is it that you are going to do for the community? Some will say, look, we are going to participate in whatever the school will require within that community, or we are going to be buying some photocopiers.
Yeah, corporate social responsibility.
Exactly. And in most of our villages, you realize that it is through the conservation that they are able to have power supplied in their areas through knowledge. So this particular investor will put in money, say, look, for the next 5 years, I'm going to be with this community. This is the investment we are going to have, plus minus up to 3 million, so that the rural areas are electrified.
Right.
You realize that firewood has become so scarce in some of the communities. So if we don't have power, then what will these people do? They'll end up cutting the trees. And when we cut more trees, deforestation kicks in.
Right.
So there are so many challenges, but together as a nation and where people are understanding the value of tourism, I'm pretty happy that as a sector, some of the challenges, we cannot overcome them as Namibia Tourism Board, but collectively as a nation. And our political principles, obviously, they have been putting on programs where people benefit and they realize the benefit of us living hand in hand with the animals, and so as the value of us preserving our vegetation.
Right. Now, Namibia, you are still tuned into the Public Enterprises Information Sharing Session. We are coming to you live from the Government Information Center studio in the heart of the nation's capital, that is Windhoek. Now, you can follow the conversation on our social media platforms. On Facebook, we are at Ministry of Information and Communications Technology. Alternatively, you can stream us live on our YouTube channel, and our handle there is MICT Namibia. And be part of the conversation. This is quite a topic of paramount importance to all of us in Namibia. Now, Mr. Mbito, of course, you've mentioned, what the current challenges the Namibian Tourism Board is actually experiencing. Now, talk to us about how does the Namibia Tourism Board approach marketing and promoting Namibia as a tourist destination globally. I know you have mentioned about our embassies in the various nations across the globe. What other initiatives are we taking on?
Thank you, Helene. You know, the embassies or our foreign missions is just one of the aspects.
Right.
But what we do as a public enterprise in making sure that we achieve the objectives of our mandate is that Namibia Tourism Board, we have got different mandates. The first one is to regulate the tourism sector. But your question relates directly onto the marketing aspect of a destination. We are the marketing arm of the government.
Absolutely.
So in perfecting those objectives, is we come up with some projects. We attend international trade fairs where we exhibit. Our product is Namibia.
Right.
So if our product is Namibia, then when we go on to international forums, what is it that we go and showcase? When we go out there, I'll give you one particular example, the ITB in Berlin, which is an annual event where it's the biggest in Europe. I think globally it is the biggest as well.
Sorry,
Yes.
Mr. Mbito. ITB standing for International Tourism Board?
Yes, in Berlin.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
All right.
So what we do there, we take videos of Namibia, our culture, our animals, our heritage, and we take along the private sector.
Right.
As a tourism board, we depict what Namibia has to offer as a country. Whereas the private sector will say, Namibia Tourism Board have shown you what Namibia is all about. But us as the private sector, while you're in Namibia, you can come and sleep at our place. This is our place. So what I'm saying is, in our marketing mandate, we attend international trade fairs, we organize roadshows where we take along other partners, and apart from that, we make sure that digital marketing has become the thing.
Right.
So in all our channels, we make sure that we have got message which resonates with what Namibia has to offer. The United States of America has the Grand Canyon,
Right.
which is the largest.
Yes.
The Fish River Canyon is the second largest.
Yes.
A message which you will not normally hear along in the streets.
Yes.
But these are the things where we say, come to Namibia, you are going to experience the Welwitschia, which is nowhere else apart from part of Angola,
Right.
the oldest plant. We have got the oldest desert. So these are the good stories we talk about Namibia when we go and exhibit. Remember, when we exhibit, we don't just exhibit as alone, as Namibia Tourism Board. We go with the private sector, those who are making packages, the tour operators.
Right.
Because for you to fly into Windhoek and cover the whole country, you need someone to make a package for you.
Correct.
So we have got our local tour operators. They make up a package of what you can experience. Let's say you want to visit the northern part of Namibia. Where are you going to sleep? What are you going to be doing while you are there? So these are some of the things you are going to be doing. And one of the latest which I should share with you at this platform is the Itotha Carnival, which is starting in 2 days' time, on the 27th. What Itotha Carnival is all about is about showcasing what Namibia has to offer culturally and our heritage. The Itotha Carnival is happening at Kangonde village, alongside the salty pens of the Etosha.
Right.
Why the salty pens of Etosha? If you read back into our history books, you understand that our old people then, they would not buy salt. They would go and collect salt from the salty pens of the Etosha.
Yes.
And by the way, I was reliably informed that in the Oshiwambo language, there is nothing like Etosha.
Yes.
Apparently, it is Itotha.
It is.
So now, if we have such messaging which is coming out, it tells us that there is one aspect where we need to understand ourselves. In understanding ourselves is embracing our cultural heritage. So Itotha is one of such events where we are on all our platforms running through that this is an event when you come to Namibia. The other one is the Olufuka. Olufuka is not organized by Namibia Tourism Board,
Right.
but it is our cultural heritage. The Ovatwe people, the Sani people, the Obakwanyama people, all these people, all these cultural identities and differences, they put us together. So in our cultural diversity, we become a nation.
Right.
So for someone to come out there, let's say from the United Kingdom, when you fly into Namibia, you are experiencing 5 countries in one.
Right.
Why am I saying you experience 5 countries in one? If you were to be driving from Cape Town into northern part of Namibia, from the south, the vegetation is different. The demography of the people down south, and as you drive northwards, everything changes.
It does.
The demography, the vegetation, and all other, even the type of birds you meet.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
so it clearly shows that Namibia is one unique country. So that uniqueness is what we sell. And the second one is, how then do we reach out and make a case? Because remember, we are competing with the other 195 countries.
Right.
We are saying, don't go to France, for instance, come to Namibia. What is it that Namibia has to offer which France cannot offer?
Right.
So those selling points
Unique
which
selling
Namibia
points,
has
yes.
are the ones we put on our collateral, and we say, look, because we are 5 in 1, demographically, and with our unique offerings, come to Namibia. We have the big 5. Very few countries in the world, they still do have big 5.
Right.
And apart from that, when you are in Namibia, this is a place where you need quietness because of the vast distances between places,
Right.
where you don't have actually any disturbance
From anyone.
from anyone. That's why it's very unique and interesting for you as an international person to come to Namibia, because you say, wow, I have never been to such a place where I don't have the hustle and the speed and the noise. So Namibia is that country. That's what we sell out there.
Right.
Apart from that, we have got our PR agencies in the United Kingdom. In Frankfurt, we have got an office. And through those connections with our agencies, so as in Beijing, this helps us to disseminate the information about the destination.
Yes.
So we don't do it alone. We have got so many people and channels we use to make sure that Namibia becomes what we are. And we cannot take credit alone. Every Namibian, I think, in a way, have done something for Namibia to make sure that I am Namibian.
Right.
Because we have got Namibians who are working in international organizations in foreign countries. They depict the picture of what Namibia has to offer.
All right.
And of course, the hydrogen project which is coming here, and the new find oil. I think these are some of the good stories which, of course, without Namibia Tourism Board advertising about it, but it is a project which is a seller on its own.
Correct. Now, Mr. Mbito, you have briefly touched on the international partners, and that was just probes another question that I would like to post here. How does the board work with international partners, stakeholders to attract more tourists to Namibia? You've mentioned you have a PR agencies in several countries, Beijing, and what is the other one?
In the United Kingdom.
In the United Kingdom. Basically, what is the story like? If you can just quickly run us through.
Okay. Helene, let me start with this. Last week we were having an AviaDev conference, Aviation Route Development Conference in Namibia.
Yes.
Where we had, I think, about 39 airlines who came to attend that particular conference. It was organized by Namibia Airports Company.
Oh, I saw that.
So, now, what is the relationship between Namibia Airports Company and tourism? There is no tourism if you don't have flights coming into Namibia.
Absolutely.
So what we do is, when we partner up with the international players, we would go into a relationship, we'd go into bed with Discover, Lufthansa. We tell Lufthansa that, look, we can make your seats be filled. We have numbers. Fly to Namibia. and here is our picture for you to fill up the seats. Because each airline is looking for a route where the seats will be filled up.
Correct.
So how then do you make sure that these seats are going to be filled up? We go out internationally where these airlines are coming from. We do road shows, we do campaigns, we do networking. So when we are out there, we interact or we engage the bigger tour operators that they make packages for Namibia while they are in Germany. The package Namibia is one of their selling points.
Right.
So once they have made up these packages, they go then to the airlines. They say, look, I have got so much bookings in June 2024 for Namibia. Already that is a business case. So they want to buy tickets.
Right.
And I will give what was already confirmed. We are going to be flying from Switzerland in around 2026. Already, we have already gone into discussions and already activated our marketing plans in Switzerland to make sure that the Swiss are very much aware of what Namibia has to offer. So we must go and make roadshows, workshops with the people within Switzerland for them to understand what Namibia has to offer.
Correct.
That is one aspect. The other aspect on how then do we work with our agencies like the one in Beijing. You appoint a public relations company in a foreign country because number one, it makes it easier for the information to be disseminated easily.
Yes.
Number two, these PR companies, they understand the market,
local, yes.
the locals better than we do.
Yes.
So by going to bed with these people, they are able to sell our destination, obviously at a cost.
Of course.
Yes, then once they do that, we allow them to come to Namibia. We bring in journalists, we bring in media people, the television people at our cost. So when they are in Namibia, we take them across the country. They take videos, they make stories. So when they go back into their countries of origin, they are going to play those videos. They are going to write stories about Namibia. For them, it's a holiday into Namibia in exchange for them to make stories for us in their countries of origin. We have been doing the same thing as well for the Middle East. You remember, previously Namibia Tourism Board had an office in Dubai. But because our sector was not ready for the Arab market, firstly, it was the issue of the halal food. Secondly, is an issue about the ablution facilities. So our toilets and our ablutions were not that friendly. But we have started desensitizing the operators, the private sector, and if you go in some of our facilities, you realize that the ablution facilities have been tailor-made to meet what they would want to expect when they come to Namibia. And most of our meat products currently are all halal.
Yes. Halal.
So when you plan to go into a market, firstly, you ask yourself, what are they looking for? So once you understand what they are looking for, you understand your market, what are they looking for? Once you have identified those things, it will be easy for you to have that conversation to make sure that you prepare the ground. So the same has been done throughout. And in America, O&L, Ought Have and List are making use of former Miss Universe Michelle McLean as their ambassador. But at the same time, they are not only doing for Old and Have List, but it is a Namibian aspect because she represents Namibia. So that's how we go out there, and that's how we make use of the PR and the journalist farm programs we conduct every year.
All right. We are learning quite a lot from Mr. Mbito, the CEO of the Namibia Tourism Board Namibia. You are still tuned into the Public Enterprises Information Sharing Session. We are coming to you live from the Government Information Center. It's with me, Hileni Felipe Samunyela. We are discussing here And it's quite imperative that you stay tuned and join the conversation on our social media. You can follow the discussions on our Facebook page. We are at Ministry of Information and Communications Technology. Alternatively, you can stream us live on our YouTube channel, and our handle there is MICT Namibia. Be part of the conversations and post your questions on our social media, and you'll be able to get the answers from the horse's mouth while he's in the studio. That is Mr. Mbizo Bonventure, the CEO of the Namibia Tourism Board. Now, Mr. Mbizo, what strategies does the Namibia Tourism Board have in place to ensure visitors' safety and security?
You know, a safety of any person is a collective effort by all Namibians.
Right.
And for Namibia Tourism Board, we are quite happy because we have good relationship with NAMPOL. In the few years, I think the last 7 years, we were not having a tourism protection unit. Mm-hmm. And today, we have got a functional tourism protection unit within NAMPOL. Mm-hmm. And apart from that, what we normally advise our people, our tourists, because these are ours together as Namibia. Mm-hmm. We send out tips for visiting Namibia. Mm-hmm. What are the things you need not to do, things which you can do with ease? Yeah. So one of those things is that when we say visit Namibia, remember visiting Namibia is not only a foreign tourist. Right. It's James from Katima, mm-hmm. Mavuku from Katima, mm-hmm. someone from Kavango, anywhere. Yes. And this particular person, as long as you have traveled about 80 kilometers away from your normal residential area, you are a tourist. Mm-hmm. So you don't want any incident to happen to this particular person out of these unruly people. Right. So what is it that we are doing to make sure that those incidences, they don't happen? Number one, we advise that, please, when you are driving, make sure that your doors are always locked. You don't leave your items unattended. Mm-hmm. If you leave your items in your vehicle, please make sure that they are in the boot, they are not seen. Mm-hmm. Because once you leave all valuables, items in your vehicle and they are visible, mm-hmm. you are inviting trouble because someone is looking for those things they've got already a market. Correct. But Eleni, the bottom line is mm-hmm. Crime is something which together as Namibians must fight. Right. Because these people are coming out of our homes. Correct. They are our brothers, they are our sisters, they are our siblings. So for us to have a better country, we must start it from our own homes. Mm-hmm. That we say, look, I understand, John, this is what you have tend to be. But this life you are going into is not good. Mm-hmm. So the message is, let us start from our own homes. Charity begins at home. Exactly. Mm-hmm. And NAMPOL have already rolled, and they keep on rolling, policy community projects, where the communities themselves, where we are coming from, mm-hmm. are aware that crime does not pay. Mm-hmm. You may do what you do, but it will catch up and it is not good. Mm-hmm. So yes, as Namibia Tourism Board, we are in bed with NAMPO and all other security agencies, and we keep preaching the same message that, look, we have seen what has happened during COVID when tourists were not coming, mm-hmm. that our lives were turned upside down. Our mothers were selling in the market, mm-hmm. the cures, the crafts. That is what have sent us to school. Right. And that was not happening during COVID. So we already know the value of tourism. So we keep inculcating that the same message that people, tourism is one of the priority sectors of government, and let us not destroy it. Let us make sure that we are not a crime country. Let us remain crime-free.
Indeed. Now, Mr. Mbizo, quite often we hear of Namibians complaining that you see the prices for the tourist attraction or destinations here in Namibia are quite exorbitantly priced. And one wonders, we also want to be tourists in our own countries, but unfortunately the prices are exorbitant. Does the Namibia Tourism Board play any role in regulating these prices across the board?
Helene, we are an open country, a capitalist for that matter.
Right.
Namibia Tourism Board as a regulator, we do not regulate the prices. However, what the private sector does is when we are, okay, let me give it from another background.
All right.
Our tourism sector is seasonal.
It is.
Yes. So we open up like serious business into tourism from June
Okay.
up to end of October.
Right.
So the time for you to make money is very short. The other times is off-season. Now, what the operators, the private operators would then do is wanting to maximize profit within the shorter period, because if they don't do that, it means the off-season, they are going to lay off a lot of employees because there is no money to pay them. So in a way, they end up uppricing. But one of the things we need to understand is that our operators, their pricing model, they are looking at the international traveler, not the local traveler. Because if I come in with my 30 pounds from UK,
Right.
and I convert 30 pounds into Namibian dollars, that is 30 pounds multiplied by the 24 or 25, the exchange rate of the day, it's not that much.
Yeah.
But for a Namibian to go to a place in Sossusvlei which charges you 30,000 per night per person, from a Namibian perspective, we don't have such disposable income for you to be able to pay such an accommodation. However, there are options for a budget traveler. Like most of us, we are budget travelers because we travel with our family.
Right.
We are a family of 6. Can you afford? Because now kids are on holiday, you want to travel with your family. There are budget options. You have got the camping sites or you have got the backpackers. So what is it that Namibia Tourism Board does with the private sector is that we ask the private sector during the off seasons to put specials for Namibians. You have seen with Gondwana and Namibia Wildlife Resorts, they've introduced the carding system. If you have got a card holder, you get a 50%, but depending on the availability. But during off-season, surely, most of our private sector operators, they have got Namibian prizes, which is a norm across the region as well. If you go to Zimbabwe, you realize that for you to go to the falls, if you are a Zimbabwean, I think is next to nothing. But if you are from SADC, you pay a certain fee, and an international person pays a higher fee.
Right.
So similarly, most of our operators have adopted that model where they say, if you are a Namibian, this is the price for a Namibian.
Okay. All right, we are slowly coming to the end of our discussion here at the Government Information Center today. But before I let you go, Mr. Mbizo, I'd like to know, looking ahead, what are the board's goal and the priorities of the future of the Namibian tourism industry?
In our integrated strategic business plan, one of our objectives is to make sure by 2029 Namibia becomes the best preferred destination in Africa and globally. How are we going to make sure that we reach that particular goal? If you have checked through news of late, Namibia Tourism Board have started rolling out customer care skills training. We started in Ross Bay, and last week we were at Hosea Kutako International, where we are training everyone who's involved in the tourism sector on customer care skills. It is the breaker, because assuming that someone has flown into Hosea Kutako, and our officials, the immigration officials, are rude,
very
that first impression will ruin your stay in Namibia. We say, "Eish."
Yeah, indeed, they say first impression counts.
Exactly. So what we have been doing is we make sure that we train our people, even our petrol jockeys. You will ask yourself, okay, what is the relationship between petrol service stations and NTB?
Right.
most of our travelers who comes to Namibia, they are self-drive tourists. And they get a vehicle and immediately to the petrol service station.
Right.
And if the petrol jockey have got no clue of Namibia, does not know how to be friendly to Heleni, this particular tourist will be angry.
Yeah.
And the message is Namibia is rude.
Yes.
So what we are doing with the customer care skills training is to make sure that we embrace customer care skills to our customers, whether you're a Namibian or a foreigner. Number two, we are making sure that we involve our communities. We train the young entrepreneurs. Because, you know, Heleni, tourism is one sector which can employ anyone and everyone.
Right.
You may have someone who might not have had an opportunity to go to pass primary school. There is something for that particular person in the tourism sector. We need someone to make sure that the landscaping at a lodge is done.
Right.
We need someone to make sure that the fences around an establishment are done.
Right.
That does not require a degree. But we need as well people who are highly qualified as a chef.
Yes.
So there is something for everyone within the tourism sector. And what are these strategies we are now then rolling out is to make sure that the tourism sector have got a collaborative efforts and interactions with other sectors within the public sector. Like I said in the beginning, the AviaDef conference, which was hosted by Namibia Airports Company.
Right.
It is for the benefit of the tourism sector that we have got more airlines flying in and the destination becomes cheaper. But if we don't have that collaborations with other public enterprises or other government institutions, we will be working in silos.
Correct.
And these silo attitudes has made us to be redundant in most ways. So one of the initiatives within our integrated business strategic plan is to make sure that we collaborate with regional councils, with other government institutions, to make sure that our main objective as a government institution is to reduce poverty and to reduce the unemployment rate. So together, if we put all our minds together, we work together, we are going to achieve that. And our goal 2020-30, it was almost around the corner. In 2063, which is far away, by then we'll be, you and I will be already retired. But the bottom line is to make sure that all government initiatives are put together, just like this session, where we share what is it that you do as a government institution, and people out there, how do they get this information to understand what they want to do? Because there might be someone deep down in Oppo, they have got a wonderful place where they want to start a campsite. How do they start that campsite? Without this session, those people would not get this information. So sessions like this is one of the sessions which we think as Namibia Tourism Board is going to help us propel our objectives.
Indeed. After all, two heads are better than one.
Exactly.
Yes, and now thank you so much, Mr. Mbito, for availing yourself today away from your busy schedule to come and educate the Namibian nation on their aspirations and, perspectives of the Namibia Tourism Board. And Namibia also, that is all the time we have for today's discussion. Thank you very much, Mr. Mbito. We appreciate you availing yourself. Yes, and that is all the time we have for today's discussion. Join us again tomorrow as we discuss another fruitful discussion here at the Government Information Center. Tomorrow we will be tackling an OMA, so please, you must tune in to listen and to learn about the government institutions information sharing and cabinet committee briefing session as the one we will be bringing you tomorrow. From myself, Hileni Felabusa Munyela, and the entire GIC production crew, until next time, take care.